with your hosts, Tricky Nick, Alex, I Yield to No One, Sid, and Ender Phoenix.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Trophy Horrors. I will be your host tonight, and with me, as always, the man, not the myth or the legend, just the man, Tricky.
Wow. Yeah, I'm here. I'm just going to give everybody a fair warning. I'm hyped up on meds, so if I sound loopy or make even crazier than normal statements, that's why.
And we know you've been going through the some issues, and thank you for posting in the group, keeping everybody up to date, and hopefully you're feeling at least a little bit better. But we're here to make your night easier, so we won't razz on you too much.
I appreciate that.
Can't promise we won't razz on the next gentleman. Alex, how are you?
You know, we all have to take our fair share of lumps, so you know what, that's fine, Matt. Although I will say, some people just don't know how to rest. They don't know how to kick back and just, rest after surgery.
The way I rest is to work.
Yeah, we noticed that.
That's funny for somebody who's going to retire so young.
Well, that's why I'm able to retire so young, is because I worked my ass off.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is like, if you that's your rest is working, what are you going to do when you're retired? Why not just get a job that you just work?
Because I'm going to get the job when I retire. Maybe I'll start doing Proven Gamer full time.
Hopefully it'll start paying the bills sometime soon. But another guy who's about the bills is Yield. Yield is here as well tonight. How you doing, Yield?
Not ready to go back to work. I want a few more days off.
I wish. I just had my vacation a couple weeks ago, and I'm ready for days off again. But men who will be getting the rest of eternity off, if you haven't heard the news over the past couple days, because we got Saber in chat, And one of the men that he's chanting up is the recently departed Hulk Hogan, who passed away at 71, I think.
Yes.
And he joins the ranks of Malcolm Jamal Warner, who tragically passed away in Costa Rica, as well as the legendary Ozzy Osbourne, who recently passed away after a lifetime of creating music, influencing musicians, and just being an overall legend. And there was one more. Thank you, Saber. Yes, Chuck Mangione also passed away this week. They say trouble comes in threes. Well, this one was fours. So there was a bunch of celebrity deaths hitting all realms of the world: music, entertainment, acting. It's been a shitty week for celebrities. So that's okay. We're still here. We're still recording. We're still here to entertain you all. And we do that by going with our updated trophy counts. Give you guys a second or two to make sure that your agendas are up. And Tricky, you want to go over your updated counts?
I am level 969, total trophies of 34,684 with 999 plats.
And Alex?
Sorry, I'm waiting for. Oh, there we go. It loaded up. It had the spinning wheel of death, but it loaded just as you came to me. Level 522, total trophy count of 10,705, and a platinum count of 195 and 194 games. My streak of weeks without getting a trophy continues.
Wait, streak of weeks without getting trophies?
Yeah, I haven't gotten a trophy since I finished the DLC for Prince of Persia.
Okay. All right. So I have to continue not playing to beat your streak. Keep ahead of you there.
How long is your streak, Matt? Your streak's got to be way long. There's no way I'm going to make it to there, but...
I'd have to look at it when I got my last trophy because I don't recall the last game I actually played on the PlayStation. Yield, how about you? While I look up my stats.
Level 532 with the trophy count of 11,269. The platinum count of 215.
And I am level 222 with 1,337 trophies and 0 platinums. It's been so long, I've been signed out of the PlayStation app, and I have to sign back in to look at my stats. But Sid is a level 894 with 27,393 trophies, 851 platinums. So, question before we move on to the trophy rarity update. Tricky, do we have Sophie's trophies this week?
We do. Hold on.
Okay. We'll get to it after the rarity. I just wanted to ask before I segue.
Yeah.
Yield, do you have this week's trophy rarity update?
I do. Okay. In Division 1, things have bunched up at the top with the top 6 separated by just 36 points. Iwi still leads the way with 225. Nitro has jumped to second place and is 4 points behind with 221. Crook drops to third on 213, and there is upward movement from myself and Marky Frazier, who both moved to 199 points in fourth and fifth respectively. Frazier actually had the top score this week with 105 points. Diego makes up the top 6 with 189, following a 52-point increase. There was a bit of movement at the bottom. CJ remains outside regulation zone on 76. However, his lead over the bottom 3 has been cut to 6, as Waterfields 1 hit 60 points, taking him to 70. Rick with 53, moving him to 68. And Tricky falls to the foot of the table on 39 points, following a 12-point increase. In Division 2, Nightmare and Roll on the Floor laughing out loud Z remains at the top. Nightmare has pulled away and has a lead of 104 points following a 58-point increase this week. Eifert Hellfire 90 replaces the Big Don in the top 3. A score of 27 this week took him to 104 overall, and he now leads Don by 5 points. Elsewhere, there were gains for Dodge Williams, Kalai, and Dupes, Further down the league, Alex still has yet to earn a trophy this season, but his score keeps increasing. The addition of another ultra rare legacy trophy took him to 53 points overall and still sixth. Man, that's pretty good, Alex.
Hey, trophies doing work for me. That's what you want. That's what ideal. You want,
right?
It's when your legacy trophies are doing work for you.
Rarest trophy of the week. Rarest trophy of the week in reverse order. Fifth is California Wayne with Come With Me from NBA 2K25, 3.29. Red Beer Rick was fourth for The Harder You Work, The Luckier You Get in Farm Together 2 at 2.55. Nitro and myself share third with Crush Them with One Swift Stroke from Star Wars Battlefront at 2.47. Marky Frazier is in second with Master of the Modern Age in Iron Harvest at 2.37. And winning the rarest of the trophy of the week goes to Doc Chicken at 0.47 with Day 3 in Maximum Football.
Alrighty. Well, again, thank you, Yield, for reporting on it. Thank you, guys, for giving all of the data over. To answer your question, Alex, if I'm reading my profile properly, January 18th, 2025, when I earned my trophies beating Astrobot.
I figured it'd be in something like Astrobot.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the other profiles that are coming up, like, I guess in whatever order they are, and Ghost of Tsushima was the only other one I touched between Astrobot and Spider-Man, I guess. I don't know. Weird. All right. Got the Sophie's Trophy set up, Tricky?
Yep. Ready to go.
And hit it.
Hello again, my friends. It's Sid back with another Platinum update for you guys. But before we start this week, I really have to say sorry, JT. I got your gamer handle wrong or gamer tag wrong last week. So that one seagull is JT and not Donny, as I for some reason thought. So sorry, buddy. But on to some Platinums. So this week, guys, we have Redbeard Rick, and he has got Farm Together 2 on the PS5. Then we have Pee-wee, ITFC, and that's Control on the PS5. Then we have Waterfields 1 with Jusant, again on the PS5. And then we have the main man, I Yield to No One, Star Wars Outlaws on the PS5. Then we have Murray 2001, or 2011, I think, sorry, got that wrong, with It Takes Two on the PS5. And we have another Control on the PS4 from X Nightmare 317. So a couple of these games, guys, I've not played some of them. I haven't played Farm Together, Jusant. I played It Takes Two for a little while, and I know how tricky that can be if your partner is not very good at games, so that's why we never finished it. So I'm going to give that one my Platinum of the Week this week. Closely followed by Star Wars Outlaws, because I did play some of that as well, but I didn't really get too far into it. So yeah, that is this week's Platinums, guys. Hope you're all doing okay, and I will talk to you again soon. Keep getting your trophies. Bye.
And thank you to Sid for once again putting together Sophie's Trophies. Love every time that we have it on the show. Great way to transition into what we've been playing. Tricky, you want to go first so that way you can regale us with how you've kept yourself busy before you had your procedure?
Played Division 2, but mostly I've been playing Death Stranding 2. And I'm going to say I am really, really, really freaking surprised that Konami is not suing Kojima right now. With the amount of Metal Gear references in this game, it is unbelievable. I've seen at least 2 different Metal Gears. I've fought a guy that looks exactly like Solid Snake. And even the little robot from Metal Gear Solid 4 made an appearance. How they're not being sued for copyright infringement, I have no idea. Love the game. Typical Kojima game. It is Kojima to the fullest. A lot of cutscenes, a lot of dialogue. But I have to say, I'm enjoying the delivery part of this game more than I'm enjoying the combat of this game, which is really weird to say. I know it's Kojima's good known for his combat, and I'm not saying the combat's bad in this game, but just the taking this order from this location to this location, it's there's something satisfying about it. I don't know how to describe it other than it's satisfying. Loving the game. I'm looking at the trophies, and I have 25 and 55 already, and I don't know that getting 2A points because you said I'm on the bottom of the scale there, right, Yield?
Yield maybe in a different window.
Yield?
It came through. You just didn't hear me. I mean, it recorded. That's what he said. Yes, you're in the bottom.
Yeah. Which I'm surprised because I've gotten a bunch of trophies. I guess a lot of them are commons. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of work in this game. So.
Now, I heard you get to the combat a lot earlier than what you did on Stranding 1.
You do, but the combat, for good or bad, is far in between. One of the least favorite things I like about either game is when you get caught in the rain, you can sometimes get attacked by the BTs, and there's really no avoiding them. You just gotta you gotta get caught and fight your way off, but your stamina's gonna run out, and then you die or you don't die because you can't really die in these games. So that's my least favorite part of the game, but like the normal combat of fighting like the humans or whatnot, that's all right. But yeah, I can't. The amount of quality and detail they put into some of this stuff is freaking unbelievable. I'm loving the game. Like I said, I'm enjoying delivery more than I am the combat, but the combat's not bad. So, and then I'm looking at the trophies now. This is gonna be a work to get this platinum. So, I'm gonna try to make this to my 1,000th plat. I know I said that for 3 different games now.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, as you play it, you'll get to feel whether that's what you truly want to do or not.
Yep. Yeah. So, other than that, the only thing I played is the Division, but I haven't really played the Division because I've been stuck on this. So, that's what I've been playing.
Okay. Awesome. How many hours do you think you're in on Death Stranding?
I would say 80. I can look it up. But I think I'm 80 hours in right now, and I'm about maybe 40% through the game. I'll look up the exact hours. Hold on.
Okay. Jurassic Parky, welcome to the chat. He does say deliveries offer much more freedom than in 1, which could somewhat feel a little linear. I kind of know what he was talking about, because in 1, it felt like, when you're making your initial deliveries in an area that you're not connected, and you're trying to make your way across a field, it kind of forces you to take one kind of optimal path. Depending on what equipment you have, you could take a different path, but I mean, either way, that's what I was kind of interested in too. I don't know, I never finished 1, and I don't think I'm going to go back after multiple tries. So, got that figure yet, Tricky?
No, I'm trying to, because I'm working with one screen right now.
It's all good. Yield. You want to go into what you've been playing while Tricky looks for his number?
Attempted to play some Rocket League. It didn't go very well for me. Played some World of Warship Legends. Finished out my campaign for the Wisconsin, so I can kind of not spend so much time in that game now. Did a little bit of Firefighting Simulator Squad. Still grinding for the drive 1,000 meters trophy. I spent the bulk of my week in Star Wars Battlefront. I've gotten almost all the DLC. I've got 3 trophies left, and between 2 of the 4 DLC packs. Finish off. 2 of them are 100%ed already. The main game, I'm down to just get the master level done and all the missions, which is not easy for me. Everybody in the boosting group says it's easy, but I just must not have found my rhythm yet. And then I have to take down an AT-AT with a tow cable, which is, you can only do that in one game mode, and you can only do it at the end of the mode, and I think that is going to be the trophy that drives me up the wall, but I'll keep trying. But that's it. 4 games this week.
Yeah.
You know, you go ahead, Tricky.
No, I was gonna say, I was gonna interrupt it. Finish what you were saying with Yield, and that didn't come back to me.
You talk about the AT-AT. I just watched a video of somebody in Helldivers, and they're showing the brokenness of the CRISPR sidearm. He ran under a line of factory striders and just aimed up and burned the inside of them from down below, and he took out like 6 factory striders that way. So I have to go try that. Tricky.
Yeah, I was way off. I am 53% of the game at 47 hours.
Okay, so we're looking at an 80-hour, 90-hour game.
Yeah. I thought I was already at 80 hours the amount of time I've been playing it, but I guess I was way off.
Samsonite, I was way off. Name the movie.
Dumb and Dumber.
There you go. Good man, Alex. Speaking
What?
of good man, what have you been playing?
Why did I want to say Spaceballs there? I don't know.
I don't know, because that was not in Spaceballs.
I guess when he said luggage, all I could think is like, that's it. A combination of somebody's luggage. Sorry.
I don't even think there was anybody in Spaceballs that was in Dumb and Dumber. So I don't know how you. It's whatever. Our minds go to strange places.
It's the luggage. I just said it was the luggage thing that connected me. Never mind. I'm going to smoke a cigarette. I'll be back.
All right. Alex, what have you been playing?
Well, not really much. I did re-download Still Wicks Deep because I am going to download. I think I fucked this up twice, but or I got some misinformation on the show last week, so I do want to clarify that. But I did download the DLC for Still Wicks Deep called Siren's Rest. I was coming up with all kinds of different names last week, but yeah, it was like I was like Sirens Rising, blah blah blah. No, it's Siren's Rest is the name of the DLC. So I didn't actually buy the DLC yet. I just downloaded the game, and I sat down in front of my TV last night. Would have been a good time to sit down and play it, but I don't know. I just kind of before I could turn the TV on, I just kind of like put a blanket over myself and just kind of zoned out. And eventually went to sleep. So I'm sure I'll, since I've got the game downloaded, I'm sure that I'll get back to it. But other than that, mostly Rocket League and Helldivers doing the dailies, trying to catch up, get some of the war bond medals to finish out one of the war bonds, so I can move on to the latest one. And got a question for Yield and Matt. We recently just finished a major or minor order. Did you guys get a reward for that? Because I did not.
So I actually had logged on today to do it, just to make sure that I got my medals. I did max out on my medals based on since the last time I logged in, so I can't tell you whether I actually got it or not.
That leaves you, Yield.
So, I haven't logged back on in a while, so I don't know. But when I do, I'll let you know, because I know I'm low on medals. So if we got anything, it should pop up.
Okay, just checking. Who knows? Maybe they're delayed. Sometimes that happens, but that's the. It's a little annoying If we complete it and then you don't get the medals, that's problematic for Arrowhead. But hopefully it's just a delay. The only other thing I do want to clear up before I toss it off to one of my compatriots is the I think I said last week the Still Wakes the Deep DLC takes place in the North Atlantic. I seesawed back and forth between two things. It's actually the North Sea. So yeah, it's the North Sea, not the North Atlantic. So I just wanted to clear those two things up after I had more time to look into the game. But yeah, that's really all I've been doing this week is just my live service games because I just, for some reason, can't really get the gusto to just start a new game. I don't know. Getting old. Getting too old for this shit.
It's all good. Play when you want to play, not when you have to play. So I have jumped back and forth between my computer and my Switch. On the Switch, I did more Fantasy Life I, the Girl Who Steals Time, with some friends, just doing some online missions. And I can't tell. I feel like that game is not for me. It's just, I don't know. It's too disjointed. I don't like the story. The only reason I got it was to be able to play with my friends, and even then, it's not a ton of fun. Then I also put time. I actually got to play a match of Team Fortress 2 with a friend. It was all we had time for. We just got one match done. We lost, but it was fun going back in and playing that. I did more Myth Force on the PC, which is that roguelite game where you and up to 3 friends just go through a fantasy world. I put more time. I finally got back into Doom: The Dark Ages, completing chapters 14 and 15 of 22. I got the BFC, not the BFG, the BFC.
The big fucking cannon?
No, I wish. Probably the name for it outside of what it's officially named, but it's called the Ballistic Force Crossbow. It's a giant crossbow, and it works just like the BFG, where you get limited ammo and it wipes everything off the map in front of you. Also played Daemon Ex Machina more. I found if I ignore the story of that game and just do the missions, I'm much happier. I don't like the way that the story is presented in the game. It's not I don't particularly care for it. But if I just bypass everything and go through, complete the mission, go back out, get to modify my arsenal and play it that way, I'm having a lot more fun. The missions are generally like 5 to 10 minutes, if that. Like, it's the longer missions are boss missions. But I'm having fun with it, and it kind of makes me miss playing Armored Core 6, so I may just go back and play Armored Core 6 for aesthetics. And finally, more Donkey Kong Bananza, which I've just been having a blast with. Being able to just smash through levels and solve things in different ways. The example is, as you're progressing through a part of the story, you come across like the standard ground, dirt, or rocks, and you can smash through them. But if you come against concrete, you need to use boom bombs to be able to blow up the concrete. And I came upon that, and I looked around the concrete, and it was just standard rocks. So instead of having to go find a boom bomb, I just broke the rocks around the concrete and walked around the door that way. So I've been hearing that speedrunners are destroying this game in a literal and figurative sense. And I can't wait to see what they do with the next speedrunning tournament, because this game's fun. I went through, I collected all the bananas on the first couple levels, and I think that's going to be my goal, is get at least all of the different bananas, because in similarity to Mario Odyssey, you have to get bananas, whereas in Mario Odyssey, you got moons. But in this game, collecting bananas, every 5 bananas, you actually level up and get a stat point for DK. And that can do things like making breaking ground easier, or giving you more maneuverability, or even giving you like an active sonar that when you slam the ground, it tells you what's around you. So definitely behooves you to get as many bananas, and evidently there's something like, I don't know, 900 bananas across the game. So there's a lot of things to do in it. So I've just been playing more in that.
Before we move on, I do have a question for you.
Yes.
In regards to, the Bonanza for bananas you've been playing. So they do both 3D and 2D segments, right? Kind of like they did with Odyssey. And I was just curious how they handle that.
So I've seen the 2D segments. I haven't gotten to one yet, but it's very much similar to the way that it ran back in Donkey Kong Country, for instance. Is you're playing left to right, you get your barrels that launch you up and over, and it's just, it literally turns it to 2D on certain levels, but otherwise it's over the shoulder 3D. And then like when you dig into the ground, it kind of goes into that 2D aspect, but it's hard to explain. You have to kind of see it for yourself. It's just so that way you don't get lost in the ground knowing which way is up.
Because I remember that was one really cool thing about Odyssey, where they would have the segments where you would just snap from 3D to the 2D like wall platforming, and that was like, I mean, Mario Odyssey was a really good game, but I think those kind of things were just really like a going to the 2D segments were really the most impressive parts because of how different the game looked otherwise.
Yeah, and this, like, I remember what you're saying, because in Mario Odyssey, it literally snapped you to the point where you looked like the 8-bit Mario crawling along walls. But this is more of, it keeps the art style, and now you've just got like a traditional Donkey Kong Country level where you're going left to right.
And I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but I've seen that they bring back New Donk City.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet, but the game is evidently massive, and there's new game plus, so you actually can't even get all of the bananas on your first go through. There's some bananas that are hidden until you get past and start new game plus again.
Is that because you have like new powers? Like, I don't want to say Metrovania style, but there's new powers you have to get to be able to access certain areas.
I don't know yet. We'll see. I'm only a couple hours in, but there's a ton of secrets this game is hiding, and you know, for a Nintendo game that is $70, not $80, I think there's a lot here.
Well, you and I kind of talked about that in the chat. Is that Nintendo feels like they can charge that much for Mario Kart, whereas maybe they don't feel like they can charge that. They don't want to neuter the sale, so to speak, of Donkey Kong right out the gate, which personally I would rather pay more for Donkey Kong than Mario Kart, but that's just me.
No, and I heard what you're saying. The issue I think we have in the end is that Mario Kart, you know, look at the sales of Mario Kart over its lifetime versus the sales of Donkey Kong. Hell, look at the sales of Mario Kart versus The Legend of Zelda. It's crazy how much Mario Kart has sold, all things
Oh no,
considered.
man, I understand. I'm fully admitting that I'm leading with my heart and not my brain on this, but I'm glad that Donkey Kong is getting his due. I mean, I know Donkey Kong has had his due for a while, but it seems like something like Tropical Freeze, which was the best Donkey Kong game, by the way, maybe until now. You know, you kind of feel like the popularity for DK kind of fell off, where people just didn't really pay attention, and now it seems like this game is bringing a lot more attention back to Donkey Kong.
Agreed, and I think the funnier thing is when they initially showed this game and he was wearing his breeches and you know, a mining hat, everybody started flipping the fuck out, being like, Donkey Kong doesn't wear clothes. And then no sooner than that happens and you start up in the first level, you get relieved of your breeches, and now you're just walking around as a naked Donkey Kong. So
well, except for the tie. He's all business. He's wearing the tie.
Well, the tie is always there, yes. Alrighty. So this week's news, we got a couple different articles here, kind of continuing what we were talking about last week from this first article. And I tend not to believe the way that these articles are written, because I know exactly the thread that they were talking about on Reddit, and they tend to, I don't know, fabricate the significance of it and the level of attention it actually has. Continuing from last week's story about how MasterCard has started restricting payments for games considered immoral or not within lines of their policy, Steam users are banding together to contact Visa over removal of adult games. And this comes from The Gamer. And unfortunately, again, I saw the thread that they were talking about, and it's just one user who reached out to Visa saying, hey, I'm concerned about Visa's policy about, you know, what will you do if you restrict games or access to games? And basically Visa customer service came back and said, basically that Visa isn't going to do this, as you know, we don't judge what's moral. We just judge we only pay I'm sorry, we only process payments for what's legal. You know, if it's illegal, then it's something else. So this also comes on the heels of itch.io saying that they were reached out to by MasterCard saying they will no longer process payments for games that feature certain types of adult content. So this is starting to become a snowball effect in the gamers world. And evidently now it's catching the news of Steam users, and kind of like the Stop Killing Games, you've now got gamers coming together and making complaints against these payment processors saying, stop taking away our legal stuff. We don't care what you think, whether it's moral. We don't want you to be the judges and arbiters of what gets released. So that's at the heart of this argument, is that they don't want payment processors being the ones to gate what is being published. So with that said, Tricky, I know you didn't have a chance to talk on this subject last week, so I wanted to give you a chance to go first.
Listen, if Steam or PlayStation or Xbox or whoever the hell, if they're comfortable having these games on their systems, then who are the payment processors to say, nope, we're not going to pay for that? If PlayStation has a contract with Visa and PlayStation's willing to sell this game, Visa has no leg to stand on to say, nope, we're not going to process the payment because this is an adult game. It's complete bullshit. I don't even know if I even believe the story at all. Like
Well, what that people reached out to Visa, or that MasterCard got everything taken down?
I severely doubt MasterCard got anything taken down, let alone Visa got anything taken down. I know what the reports are saying, but I don't know if I believe it.
There, because Steam has confirmed that MasterCard told them that they will no longer process payments for types of games.
Did you see this from a Steam thing, or did you see or an article saying Steam said this?
And in last week's
agenda,
in last week's discussion, we talked about how Steam applied new developer onboarding, indicating that you cannot make games that include certain types of adult material.
All right, maybe I'm out of the loop on all this because I really haven't been following news lately, but I don't know. I find it hard to believe that a payment processor has enough pull to say you can't sell these games on your network, your system. I don't know where they would even have the balls to be able to say stuff like that. But I will defer because I haven't really done much research into this. I'm taking you at your word, Matt, that, and not saying that like you lying or anything like that. But I just don't know where a payment processor has the authority nor the balls to say, no, we're not going to process payments because this game has adult content. But they have no problem taking payments for porn sites and, whatever the case may be.
Part of the conversation last week dealt with that, and that this did initiate from porn sites and the type of adult content they have there.
I don't know.
And it should be noted that a lot of this comes from this group that started it called Collective Shout, and they are a movement group banding together to fight this kind of content from being available on different platforms. So I won't go more into that. I didn't do a ton of research on them and who they are, but definitely if you're interested in it, definitely look at that and with the lens of the overall issue.
All right, I'll take a look into it.
All right. Yield?
Figured this wouldn't go away yet, and kind of figured that people would complain to the credit cards because, one person did. But, that we kind of said last week that it's up to the individual what they want to buy. So not really on the credit card of what they can and can't buy.
Okay. Alex?
For me, I mean, we really don't know what goes on behind the scenes with any of this stuff. It's hard for us to say, you know. But like Tricky said, it's kind of unbelievable that someone could have so much power over Steam, but with all the politics that go on and the inner workings, I mean, who's to say that some of these companies don't have that much sway over these companies? Because even if payment processors take money payments for porn sites and stuff like that, like more hardcore adult material, people could say that like that these are video games and that place has no kids could be involved with this or kids could play them. I mean, people have a very much, I mean, let's be real, we're a very religious country, so people have their own beliefs, and in some cases they may say, well, when it comes to video games, this kind of stuff doesn't have any place in here. It's not appropriate. So, it wouldn't surprise me if this kind of stuff, if Steam had to kind of bend, like do a limbo for certain rules for certain people. But where there's payment processors, I mean, we really have no direct evidence of that except what people say. So we'll see. But one would hope that Steam are the ones curating their list of games and not somebody else.
Yeah, and it's from what I've seen on this issue, there's starting to be more conversations about the power payment processors have over various entities, and I look at it and say, okay, is there a way that they make it that you can't buy that game using a credit card? But, if I go into a store and I buy a Steam gift card and I load Steam gift card onto my account, why wouldn't I be able to pay for a game that I want that a payment processor might say, no, that's not appropriate. You can't have that. There's a lot of legal gray areas here that I wonder. So I don't know. I'm sure we will hear more about it. And Saber has a number of comments in it, but because he's doing talk to text, it comes up as a censored word. So it kind of loses some of the meaning of that. Just be aware of that, Saber. So I don't know what you're saying in those, but his one comment that he said justifying $80 for a game is wild kind of leads us into our next story, that coming from Windows Central, Microsoft concedes that the Outer Worlds 2 retail price was too high. Xbox says it will keep our full-priced holiday releases at $69.99 with refunds incoming. So basically they're backtracking on their previous story, saying that Outer Worlds 2 and its other holiday releases for 2025 would be at the premium $79.99 launch price. And they obviously got a lot of backlash, and they said, well, okay, now we'll keep it at $70. So, we talk about $80 being worth it for Mario Kart. We talk about what's the right point for Donkey Kong Bonanza. $70 seems to be doing well. Is Outer Worlds 2 a $70 game? Obviously, it's no longer an $80 game. Microsoft doesn't think that. But is it worth $70, especially when it's going to be on Game Pass? Tricky?
I'm sorry. Go to somebody else. I spaced out. I'm sorry.
Okay. So what were you exactly asking again? Because I kind of got lost.
Is Outer Worlds 2, they changed it from $80 back down to $70. Is even Outer Worlds a $70 game? Is it a $60 game? Like what in your mind determines what price a game should be? Because you see Nintendo's philosophy of, well, some games are going to be 80, some games are going to be 70.
See, when it's presented like that, I'll just say it. Really, a price of a game is kind of in the gamer's eyes. What I think might be an $80 game, Alex might think is a $40 game. It's hard to sit down and say, it has to be this long or it has to be this, that, or the other to make it an $80 game. Dropping it $10 is a significant drop, but it's still, I don't know. For some reason, I really don't know what the word I'm looking for. I almost want to say it feels chintzy that they only dropped it $10, but really that's about all that they can really go. I don't know. I kind of feel on the fence about it of backing off and saying, well, we don't really feel it's an $80 game, but you're going to charge $70.
Yeah, it's I don't know. And Sabers in chat saying the correct price is $49.99. Expedition 33 made that clear with its massive sales of an amazing game. So I don't know, Alex, what do you think? Should this game have been $50?
A lot of
You might
delays
be
today.
muted, Alex.
Did Alex step away?
I guess we'll find out. Tricky?
So yeah.
Oh, okay. Looks like so. Just for your knowledge, Alex. Yeah, obviously it sounded like you were saying something. It didn't come through on our end, so we'll fix it in post.
Yeah, the only thing we heard was so yeah.
All right. Tricky.
Yeah.
Have you caught up?
I have. I'm sorry. I was distracted. What a game is worth, I think Yield kind of touched on it, was it depends on the gamer. Somebody would say like a Madden game is worth $80. I would say it's worth $30. It really depends on what game it is. Like, to me, The Outer Worlds 2, it doesn't matter because I'm not playing it. Like, I have no interest in that game, so it doesn't matter what you sell it as. I find it a little weird that this is an Xbox Studios game, and there people are concerned about the price point of it, when I would say a majority of people are probably playing this on Game Pass and didn't pay a dime for it. So I go back to the statement, and I know it's not a popular opinion. Games, even at $90, are still cheaper than what they were when we were kids. And I'm not saying this from a privileged position or anything like that, but as gamers, I know it hurts when games go up in price, but this is the way the industry's going. This is the way the market's going. Games are going to have to get more expensive if we want those high-quality games. And I'm not trying to quote Sony there, just for the record. You have to expect this. And just because a game went up with $10 in price, or all games are going up with $10 in price, we can't have these freaking uproars like, oh my God, these games are worth, oh no, we got to reduce it. This is all PR speak by Microsoft. Oh, well, this is what we were going to come out with, but no, our gamers don't like it, so we're going to reduce the price. Come on, this is PR speak. Microsoft knows that this is where it's going. They got pushback, and they don't want to upset the gamers. It's bullshit to me. Most people are playing this game for free on Game Pass. They could care less. They're happy to get $70 for the game for anybody that buys it outside of Game Pass. It's just that simple.
And Sabers in chat saying, I never buy Madden until it goes on sale for $19.99, always in January. Yeah. So you're at fault for buying Madden in general. Doesn't matter what price you buy it at. That is a shit series. They've done nothing to improve that series for the past 20 years. So, maybe don't judge that we're spending $80 on Mario Kart on a game we get every 5 years, 7 years, as opposed to a game that comes out every year that is no different. Just putting that out there. So with that, you say that Microsoft is like, are they hurting? Well, no. According to Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, he says they are thriving despite, a recent 9,000 person layoff and, the rumors that these employees were developing the AI systems that replaced them. And again, we kind of go into the idea that Microsoft is not just Xbox. It is a large company. And this is kind of where we get into the constant back and forth about, is Xbox profitable? Is it not profitable? Is it doing something and the rest of Microsoft is paying for Xbox's bills? So according to Satya, he said, I want to express my sincere gratitude to those who have left, which is a weird way of saying kicked out. he said, the contributions have shaped who we are as a company, helping build the foundation we stand on today. And for that, I am deeply grateful. Again, funny way to say they shit canned a lot of people and are reaping the benefits on that. He continued, I also want to acknowledge the uncertainty and seeming incongruence of the times we're in. By every objective measure, Microsoft is thriving. Our market performance, strategic positioning, and growth all point up to the right. When you're looking at a profit and loss statement, that's what he's talking about, that it's going. I worry about this comment of growth. You don't grow by eliminating people, at least not in the traditional sense we know about. So I don't think there's much here to discuss other than I think we would all agree that there is a significant dissonance between corporate leadership, especially Microsoft leadership, and what the every woman sees. Don't know. Not much more I can go to there.
Could you read Saber's comment so I can reply to it, please?
Which one?
The last one.
AI will be making better games than developers less than a year for absolutely nothing than a $20 subscription to whatever AI.
I was talking about that.
And then he also...
Yeah, the next one.
He says, look at Expedition 33's game sales, over 3 million copies sold. With or without Game Pass, do your research, Tricky?
Yeah. That's in response to me saying that most people are playing The Outer Worlds on Game Pass. Yes, Saber, the game sold 3.3 million copies, and I think it said in 12 days. Yes, that's impressive, but that doesn't show you how many people are actually playing the game. It could be 10 million people playing it on Game Pass. It's still a majority of the people are playing it on Game Pass. That was my point. I'm not saying any game ever sold, any game that's ever given out on Game Pass, there aren't outside sales. That would be ludicrous to say. There are going to be sales. But you're talking about how many people are loving this game. I don't even know you could actually look up to how many people are actually playing the game. Is there some kind of chart for that outside of Steam?
No, and that was actually another story that kind of came out recently where I forget, I think we covered it. We may not have, where a game developer of some racing game, I forget what it was, that said Steam charts are not the be all end all of game performance because you don't know how many people are playing on something like PlayStation or Xbox.
Right.
But when there's a lack of data, kind of speaks for itself if you're not releasing sales numbers.
Yeah, listen. 3.3 million copies of a game sold, that's impressive. I'm not turning that down. But that does not speak to how many people actually played the game and went through. So don't get what I'm saying, Saber, twisted. I'm not saying there aren't game sales outside of Game Pass. I'm saying Game Pass games tend to be where people... games on Game Pass is where people tend to play the games more than they buy. I would say it is a much smaller fan base that will buy the game outside of Game Pass than they're actually playing on Game Pass. And I'll allow Alex and Neil and Matt to disagree with me, but do you guys feel like there are more people buying the game than there are playing on Game Pass, or do you think there's more people in Game Pass than are actually buying the game? Alex, I'll ask you first.
Someone count me back in.
5, 4, 3, 2,
1.
1.
Tricky, what's your question for me?
Do you in the terms of a game on Game Pass or PlayStation Plus or whatnot, do you think more people are playing the game on that game service than are actually buying it outside of the game service?
Well, it's different because on PlayStation, a lot of games come later in the cycle. Like they'll release first, and then like Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, they'll come to the PlayStation service later. Sometimes you'll get a game that's released day and date, but it's not usually the thing. So PlayStation, I don't think so, or I wouldn't guess that. Xbox is a lot different because we're talking specifically Xbox Studios games. They or Microsoft Game Studios, whatever it's called, they release their first-party games day and date. So you would figure with their numbers for how many subscribers there are to Xbox, to their Xbox Live, or to Game Pass, and you compare that to the number of Xbox Series X or whatever in the wild, you would think that the majority of people who play on Xbox Series X have a Game Pass membership. And so I would think that when it comes to, Microsoft's games, most of them are playing them via subscription service a la Game Pass.
Yield, what about you?
I mean, it sold 3.2 million.
3.3, but yeah.
3.3. I consider that really good. I would say if you're on the Game Pass, you're more than likely not going to buy it because you're already paying subscription for it. So unless you didn't finish it and your subscription ran up, then I could see you paying for it. So,
all right, Matt, what about you?
It's difficult to say because, there's times that a publisher will say how many people have been playing the game versus how many people have bought the game. But Thomas has a little bit of a point to say that a game like that, people may try it out first on Game Pass and then the word of mouth hits. And now you've got a $50 game that's becoming a wildfire success. So it's kind of one of those, maybe the chicken before the egg is a real thing where people try it out first and then go, oh, I want this game. There's especially for a multi-hour RPG that may take you more than a month to actually play and beat.
See, Saber also says in the chat, I will sign up for Game Pass just to play Metal Gear Delta for a month. Hope the controls will be worth me buying it.
Take this into consideration. Currently, this many months later, there are currently 15,000 people playing Expedition in Steam right now. For a single player RPG. That is insane. And the numbers have only trended upwards over the past couple months. And again, this is only Steam, where it started at 57,000 in April, and it just kept going up and up and up. And more people were playing it. But, it's had 140,000 positive reviews. It's fluctuated daily as to average players. And, up until, what was it, last month? The ending, over the past couple of days, it's been in the 20,000s. It's been in the 24,000s. People playing a single player RPG in Steam right now. So just consider that even though Steam isn't a be all end all, it's still a good indicator of performance. Look what happened to Concord when you had 160 people in game. Kind of saw the way that was going.
And bad news there, Saber. Metal Gear Solid Delta is not going to be on Game Pass at launch. So you got to wait.
Oh, well. Speaking of waiting, you are going to be awaiting a long time, like forever, if you wanted a sequel to Star Wars Outlaws. Recently coming out and reported by The Gamer. We heard it last week where Yves Guillemot had said that he attributed Outlaws' performance to the waning of Star Wars culture, as opposed to, I don't know, maybe a story that people didn't really enjoy. The game had some technical issues, but was still fun. Yield and I talked about it a little bit, enjoyed it. But basically said that there was a very, very, very early concept for a sequel to Star Wars Outlaws, and that has since been axed, which is not a surprise based off of Yves' recent comments. But I don't know, Tricky and Yield, you guys had played it. Were you interested in a sequel to the game, Tricky? I'll let you go first.
Yes, but I want to say that the guy that said this on the podcast is so full of shit. The reason Outlaws 2 is not being made is because the entire team that made Outlaws was the exact same team that made The Division, and they've already announced that the entire team after Outlaws was moving back to Division 3. This guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. It wasn't canceled. It was just never planned. Sorry.
Alrighty. Yield?
How can you say that?
because it was confirmed multiple times that the entire Division 2 team was taken off of the division, and all production was done under Division 2 because the entire team was moved over to make Outlaws.
Yeah, but you can't say that it wasn't planned. You don't work for Ubisoft. Like, we don't know how far. This is not the first time Ubisoft, if true, that Ubisoft would have canceled, an up and coming game sequel, a la,
Okay, let me rephrase. I don't know if it was planned, but it definitely was not the next game on the agenda. Because they outright said the entire team from the Division 2 was put on the Outlaws, and after Outlaws was done, when they announced the Division 3, that the entire team, after the end of Outlaws, would be moving back to Division 3, and Jason Garrity, which I believe is the guy's name, I could be wrong, he was the head of Outlaws. He was taken off of that, and he said the entire team is moving back for production of Division 3. I'm not going to say it wasn't planned, but it definitely was not the next game in the list. So this guy is talking out of his ass.
Okay. Well, I mean, as far as what we know, the speculation is that it was canceled because of poor performance, but all he really did say was that Outlaws was scrapped at the very, very, very early plans to start production. They also recently canceled Star Wars Outlaws 2 because that was planned and in the works. It didn't enter production, as far as I know. It wasn't set in stone. So, listen, all we're saying here is that it was not being made.
Which could have been for multiple reasons. Remember, this game was tough to get off the ground from the start because there was, it looked like he was going to disappoint from the beginning. And also, if Tricky is, correct, and they were planning on moving the entire team to Division 3, they realized that Massive wasn't big enough to work on 2 games at once. So that could have been a reason.
But they did work on 2 games at once. They worked on Avatar and Outlaws at the exact same time.
Okay, so theoretically, they could have had people working on Division 3 and on a Star Wars Outlaws sequel if maybe Star Wars Outlaws had been more successful.
They've confirmed that the team that was working on Avatar is working on the Avatar sequel, and the entire Outlaws team is back on the Division 3. Because shout out to my boy Rogue Gold, who does a lot of Division content. Go check him out. He just recently put out a video about how they were on the Massive website. They were doing job listings for all the stuff, and then all the job listings just disappeared because everybody was moved back, and they no longer need people for those positions because everybody from Outlaws is back on the Division 3. So, I hate. I'm sorry. I have to go on a soapbox here. I hate when people make an assumption, say it on the podcast, and everybody takes it for the gospel. Listen, this guy. You know what? I'm gonna shut up. The meds are starting to kick in. I'm gonna go down the path I don't want to go down.
All right. Well, then we'll just get Yield to chip in here real quick because I want him to address a comment that Saber made in chat. It said it doesn't even have any Star Wars music. Can you call it Star Wars? Yield, I thought I remember certain beats and musical notes from Star Wars. You played it through.
Yeah. It's a Star Wars game. It just because it doesn't focus on the Jedi doesn't mean it's not a Star Wars game. It's been one of the more enjoyable ones that didn't feature Jedi, but it had its flaws. And I'm kind of surprised they were making a sequel because they didn't really leave it open for a sequel to be made, per se. So I'm not heartbroken that they're not making another one because it's not like it was Fallen Order where I was done with it. I'm like, man, I want another one. But if they don't, I'm okay with it. Outlaws left me with, it was fun for what it was. I'm good stopping here. I don't know how you guys feel because we haven't finished it yet, Matt, but Tricky has. So that's how I felt.
Okay.
Ricky, do you agree?
I'm sorry. Say it one more time.
I said that I felt when I got done with the game, it was more of I enjoyed it for what it was. I'm okay being done here. Whereas like Fallen Order, I was like, man, that was fun. I'm okay if we're done, but I'd like to have another.
I feel like Outlaws deserves more of a story, and they have given us a little bit more story in the DLC. Not so much of the main storyline. It was more of like a side quest storyline. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? Um, yeah. Whenever I play a single player game, I always want more story to it. So, and obviously with Star Wars, I will agree that I don't believe Kay was that compelling of a character. Does that make sense?
Won't get any disagreement from me.
She wasn't bad, but
No, she wasn't bad, but they didn't develop her very well.
right. She was very one dimensional. This is who I am. You know, they
She didn't really grow.
right, and
We had covered that last week and so much. So the fact that you kind of along the same lines of what we were thinking of,
yeah, like I said,
further proves the point.
like I said, she wasn't a bad character. There was no real feeling to get behind her as a character. Yeah, that's my opinion. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Alex, did you have any input? I know you really didn't play the game, so.
No, I mean, I added my 2 bits, my 2 cents when we talked about Yves Gamont and the popular Star Wars last week. I mean, from what it seems like, and I can only go off what you guys say. I mean, they could have crafted a better, more compelling story and character to go along with it. A better protagonist would have done them a lot. So it seems like the only one Ubisoft can blame is themselves, and that seems to be the case for a lot of things.
Okay. Well, we're going to move on from this subject. We beat it up last week. We beat it up this week. But what we didn't get to beat up last week were our listeners with their listener questions.
Time to check my social media, yeah.
So put up posts here at Facebook and Channel 3. And we got some questions this week. And the first one will be, will Matt survive a few days without V? That's in reference to V house sitting my sister's dogs while the family takes a vacation. So she's in heaven right now with 2 puppies who absolutely adore her. I am handling. I will survive off of barbecue and milk. Not at the same time. Just putting that out there.
Well, if you have particularly hot barbecue, then you might want some milk, to cool you down.
I'll tough it through. This isn't Hot Ones. I'm not doing 2 million Scoville wings.
I love that show.
All right. It is a good show. It's a great format, and I hope it continues. He's got a lot of good press, and at some point he'll have to hang up his hat, but still very good show. Anyways, yes, I will survive at least until Thursday when V returns, and we have tickets to go see one of her K-pop sensations at Prudential Center through my company's box seats. So that'll be fun for her, mostly, not me. Anyways, then Curtis writes in, what Sony first party game are you looking forward to, either with a release date or something we just have announced, like Wolverine, for example?
My simple answer is Wolverine. I cannot wait for that game.
Even though we've only gotten one brief cutscene / teaser.
Those developers have proven that they are worth the wait for. I am hyped because that entire little teaser trailer we got was the bar scene from the original X-Men game, or X-Men movie, sorry. I am so hyped for that game. I cannot wait for it. I want to see more.
Okay. Yield?
don't really know if I got one off the top of my head that I'm really jonesing for. I mean, Wolverine's interesting, but I want to see more. We already kind of know when Ghost of Yete's coming and Grand Theft Auto 6. Most of the games that I'm kind of interested in aren't really a Sony first-party game right now. I know that's really not an answer you were looking for. They were looking for, but
Alrighty. Alex?
For me, it's a one-horse race. It's Ghost of Yote and everything else. That's really the only game that they have out until we see more of Wolverine, because we've just got a teaser of that, and who knows what else. But until we see more on that, or more games at all, any more games at all, it's got to be Ghost of Yote, which would probably be my front runner, regardless of what Sony's coming out with. But Sony needs to show us more if they want me to pin down more than one game.
I saw a post today said that Ghost of Yote main story is 25 hours. Everything with the side quest is 47 hours. So that's good.
All right.
Which
it's not bad.
That's good news.
Which gets into my most looking forward to game in this year, at least from a Sony first party, is Ghost, because there's nothing else that I'm looking at that I absolutely want to play. And Ghost, I absolutely love the first one, so therefore the second one, as long as it has similar gameplay structure, we'll see what the story does. We know it's kind of going in a different direction, and a lot of people are upset that it doesn't feature Jin, but I'm okay with changing the game and being a little different. Next slew of questions comes from Thomas, aka Saber, and says, first question was, will you be playing Brutal Legends in honor of the late great godfather of all heavy metal, hard rock, Ozzy Osbourne? I would say no, I'm not, but there was, for a brief time, right after Ozzy passed, itch.io made Brutal Legends, and by them Double Fine said for the next 666 minutes they were making the game free. So definitely got it out there. As you know, Ozzy has a cameo in the game, a particular devilish cameo, if you will. So definitely putting that out there. I don't know. Did any of you guys play Brutal Legends this past week in honor of Ozzy?
No, because free is still too expensive for that game.
What?
That's harsh.
You are such a negative Nancy.
That was such a bad game. I'm sorry. That was such a bad game.
It was not a bad game.
It was great until the RTS.
Hold on a second. The music was great. The game was horrible.
No, the game was only horrible because they meshed two genres together, and unless you stayed on top of it and played through the game, like me, I took a break and came back and then had to start all over because I didn't understand the real-time strategy part. But when you sit through and you play through it all, it's not bad. It's not great, but I don't think it was set out to necessarily be like this great game. It does a great job of doing a heavy metal fantasy world. I enjoyed it for, I enjoyed it for what it was. It wasn't supposed to be this earth-shattering experience. It was supposed to be Jack Black being Jack Black, and you've got
which is just bad
Ozzy
right there.
and Ozzy and Lemmy and all these other heavy metal, rock gods, heavy metal gods in your game. What more do you want?
No Jack Black.
I'm not going to sit here and take game advice from someone who plays the jumping hot dog, but I will say, look,
it's jumping taco. Get it right. Jumping taco.
You motherfucker, I saw the jumping hot dog on my scroll on the PlayStation front screen, and it's only because you played it. Don't you dare deny that shit.
I'm going to look up to see if I got the jumping hot dog.
You absolutely played the jumping hot dog. I saw it. I didn't make that game up. But the thing you can, look at Double Fine and be like, hey, y'all shot for the moon and you just missed. They tried something unique. They tried something different. They tried, real-time strategy thrown in with third-person action, and it didn't, as a lot of people pointed out, it didn't really meld all that well together. It was a lot of work to play the game. So And the other thing is they spent too much money on that game. For the size of that studio, I mean, they shot for the moon. They spent too much. They got a lot of cameos in there. They got a lot of expensive voice work done in there, and it cost them because they had to then go and cut down the size of the games they were doing because of it. So I think you can look at Double Fine and say that they were trying to do too much, and in the end it hurt them. But I don't think you can fault. And the game is not a bad game. It's not horrible. Come on now, that's just being extreme.
No, listen.
There are horrible games out there.
It was
That is not one of
bad
them.
gameplay, bad voice actor, bad.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Jack-
It's not.
Jack-
All of this is no. This is ridiculous.
No, you're ridiculous
are
to
saying
think that
is
Jack Black is any
ridiculous.
good of an actor. He's overhyped.
You just
he's
don't
bloated.
like Jack Black.
Because he's an overrated person. He's not even
He
funny.
fits- he fit the role. He fit that role.
I think he's hilarious, and I like the work he does. So you know what?
You probably
I'm
think that
canceling
we'll-
out Tricky's negative connotations and perception of Jack Black, which means that Alex, you're the tiebreaker. Jack Black is good.
So, wait. You probably think Will Ferrell is funny too, don't you?
Past Will Ferrell, yes.
Yeah, I think Will Ferrell, like around old school and Saturday Night Live, was funny. Do I want to watch Will Ferrell now? I mean, probably not.
You guys just
Tricky. I am not taking advice from somebody who hated Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
That movie was horrible. And yes,
Oh my! Don't get me started.
Alex, you were right. I did play the jumping hot dog.
Yeah, I know, because I don't make shit up. First of all, where's Rick? Somebody get Rick in here.
Right, exactly. Rick, we need you.
All right, we're moving on before we get too long in this. Thomas next asks, what restaurant you really enjoyed or franchise that recently closed down? Mine hasn't closed down per se, as there still might be like a restaurant or two and rest stops, but I really miss Quiznos.
You know, that wasn't bad. We had one in the mall up here. That was good. I really like their soup.
I got two, but I don't think they're fully closed down. Roy Rogers and Friendlies.
So we do have Friendlies here in Jersey.
Okay.
Roy Rogers tried to come back and it failed horribly.
Okay.
Yield?
It is not closed down, but it is not in my neck of the woods, and that would be what Tricky said, Friendlies. That was mine and my wife's go-to place when it was, what do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you want to eat? I don't know. And then it was fine. We're going to Friendlies because that was the one place we could go where we could find food that we liked, and we liked the desserts, and so that was our place. And when they closed it, I was not happy, and you can ask Tricky. When we went to PAX East and I saw a Friendlies on our way to PAX East, I'm like, we are going there to eat. I don't care what everybody else thinks.
So, fun fact, two of my three older siblings worked at Friendlies when we were growing up because it was close and they can get there and it was easy.
Apparently, there's Roy Rogers is still open. There's 3 restaurants just in Jersey.
Yeah, like I said, they tried and then they failed.
Oh, according to their website, they got a bunch of stores. They got 15 in Maryland, 13 around the Washington D.C. area. Let's see, 8 in Pennsylvania and 3 in Jersey.
All right. Alex, do you have a restaurant or franchise that closed down on you?
It's not a recent one. It's one from actually my childhood a long time ago, but I'm a fan of, buffets in general. And there was a buffet we used to have in town called the Sizzler. And they just, serve good old American food. And I love me some Sizzler. And when they went out of business, there's now a Texas Roadhouse, by the way. But where they had there's a lot of good shit in this area that's been gone. Children's Palace, Toys R Us, Sizzler. But my answer is Sizzler because I just like going to buffets, and they had, for one lowish price, you can go get lots of food and eat to your heart's content, and get a lot of different stuff. So that's my answer.
All right, I'm changing my answer. I'm changing my answer to Sizzler too.
So I totally forgot Sizzler existed until I watched.
That's why I'm here, Matt.
No, that's why Happy Gilmore 2 exists.
Oh,
Which, if you haven't seen, came out this past Friday, and I watched. And if you remember, in the first Happy Gilmore, there was the guy that Shooter McGavin hired to call Happy Gilmore a jackass and then ran him over with a beetle. He was always talking about going to Sizzler. And there's a reference in Happy Gilmore 2 to the Sizzler. And I was like, holy shit, that was a restaurant that existed.
I love when they do callbacks like that. Not just in Happy Gilmore 2, but in any different thing. Like we were watching one of the new episodes of It's Always Sunny, and the lawyer is back. And he's wearing an eye patch because if you remember the courtroom scene where the McPoyle's bird attacked his eye, and this was years ago, so I love that kind of shit.
Wow. Another bad show.
All right. And the final question we have, we will not take you besmirching It's Always Sunny. Tricky, we are moving on.
I thought he said some dumb shit again.
He did, and we're
I
ignoring
did
it.
not. I'm speaking facts over here, and you guys just don't
I'll
like
bet
it.
if it was set, it's always sunny in Manhattan or some shit.
We're ignoring it. We're ignoring it because there's no arguing with a person who's wrong and believes they're wrong. Thomas S. Final question: are you NWO for life or you're a POS liar? Hashtag HH for Hulk Hogan. No, I am not NWO. I am not WWE. I am not WCW. I am not AEW.
What about Wolfpack?
What about TNA?
Yeah. What about the Wolfpack?
Yeah.
What about ROH?
Are you all still speaking English? Because I don't.
What about New
understand
Japan?
any of it.
No, I'm not NWO for life just because I never. While I do appreciate the NWO and what they did for the industry, I was never a WCW guy, so I didn't watch a lot of their stuff. So I can't be NWO for life.
And I was more of the Wolfpack persuasion because they were the cool bad guys. Well, actually, I don't even know if they were really the bad guys because they were battling with the black and white NWO. So, but I personally, once they went to the Wolfpack, I just kind of gravitated more towards that group. So,
and I was never really a Hulk Hogan fan.
Is that blasphemy? I don't know. I'm literally asking from a place of curiosity.
no, because to be honest, there became a time period in WWE where, yeah, Hulk Hogan was loved, but then like you get into the 90s and people were sick of him. People were booing him, like even in 1990, was it 92 at the Royal
I was
Rumble?
gonna say, people were booing him in 2025.
Yeah, that was his last appearance on TV. But no, like people were even in the early 90s, people were getting sick of Hulk Hogan and booing him. So it wasn't like he was just this, overly beloved figure. For a while he was, but then like people started to get sick of him, and then he went heel and became Hollywood, and I think that kind of rejuvenated his career. But
Alrighty, this has been your 5-minute wrestling corner for Trophy Wars.
All right, Alex, I do have an update from our Trophy Wars Facebook group since you're not on Facebook anymore. JP.
yeah, does it say Macho Man should have won at WrestleMania 5?
No. JP, who I refuse to say his full name, says he has Splinter Fate on the 4, the 5, the Switch, and the Apple Arcade.
Who is this?
Joseph.
Oh, okay, Joe Priestley. Well, of course Joe Priestley does. So need to message good old Joe P on the messenger and see what he's doing. See if he can he wants to lock up with me and take down some baddies.
And Curtis,
I bet he's experienced as fuck in that game too.
And Curtis says he has it on the Xbox and the PS5 too.
Okay, it's good to hear from. I don't know, like since I'm not on Facebook, I don't see Curtis post anything or anybody post anything. But it's good to get a question from Curtis this week.
Alrighty. Now we move on to what might be our controversial topic of the week.
Isn't why we do these things because they're controversial? Topic of the week. Oh, wait. Well, fine then. Fuck you, Matt. He still didn't get down to silence.
Now that's gonna. I have to edit that out myself. All right.
Hold on, Garrett. Week 3.
All right. Okay.
Do you have some kind of bet with Gareth about that?
I have no bet with Garrett.
Did he guess about how many weeks it would take for us to take that air out?
Nope.
How many weeks we're complaining that it's still in there?
Nope.
All right, then I don't care. What I do care about is this news story coming from Windows Central. Sony wants to expand PlayStation Studios games beyond PlayStation hardware, hiring to partner with Xbox, Steam, Nintendo Switch, and more? Question mark. So this came from a recent job listing on PlayStation's official Greenhouse hiring platform, shared with the group from a user called Hazador on Twitter. And it's for Senior Director, Multi-Platform and Account Management. And it says, reporting to the Vice President, Commercial Management, as Senior Director of multi-platform and account management, you will play a critical leadership role in shaping and executing the global commercial strategy for PlayStation Studio software titles across all digital platforms beyond PlayStation hardware, including Steam, Epic Games Store, Xbox, Nintendo, and mobile. So there's no, it's not obfuscated. It is clear as day. They are hiring somebody to work on a multi-platform strategy, including Xbox and Nintendo. So not just PC. And that is very interesting to me in the aspect of, you know, a couple weeks ago we shared where Hiroki came out and said, you know, in a, I think it was a closed door meeting, that they said players are going to have to come to terms with seeing their games on other platforms. Now, whether that means day and date, whether that means coming out in staggered timelines, which I think is more likely the case, this is a point of saying, I'll put it to you this way, folks. Tricky shared a t-shirt design he was working on after he got out of his procedure. And it was, I'm not going to spoil it, but it was definitely fanning the flames of console wars. And I look at this and say, are the console wars over if everything starts going multi-platform? What does this mean for the differentiation between a Sony system, a Xbox system, a Nintendo system? And when you look at the success of something like Helldivers, despite all of the flaws and things that happened with that game, coming out on PC and PlayStation, PC carrying the brunt of that actual popularity, and then finally come into Xbox, and now you got players who are sitting there saying, well, if we see an Xbox player, we're going to kill them on sight. That's going to be a interesting little thing to happen. The fact that they're actually hiring for a position, specifically calling out being able to put things on Steam, Epic, Xbox, and Nintendo, is Sony softening a little bit to the way that they're going to be doing business? Tricky. We lose you, Tricky?
He said he had to step away from a bit in the chat. I don't know if that was when, I didn't see a timestamp, but it might have been recent to why he's not answering.
Oh. Yeah, no, that was, I think, from a different time. Okay. Yield.
Kind of sounds like it, but also, you know, we all kind of figured that they would eventually go that route with going to an Xbox and maybe Nintendo, because of how, you know, they're already branching out to PC. They've said that, you know, they need to branch out farther. So to really squash the console war fire, you need Nintendo to start branching out to Xbox and PlayStation, which we know Xbox is trying to get Nintendo to branch their way, but it's kind of where the industry's going, you know, where the console exclusive games are just like timed exclusives for a year or two, and then it's like, okay, here, now we're going to open them up to, you know, PlayStation or Nintendo. So I'm okay with it. It makes gaming better.
Okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the exclusives, but it does make gaming better.
More people, more access to games. I agree. Alex?
I think that, you know, one, Xbox being Sony's direct biggest competitor, because I mean, when it comes to third party deals and stuff like that, Nintendo was never in the picture for that. It was always Microsoft. So even though, yes, Nintendo is a competitor, I feel like Sony looking at Microsoft and them being like, hey, we'll work with you guys, we'll bring games over, stuff like that, has kind of maybe softened their stance towards Microsoft and towards exclusivity. Don't get me wrong. I think there are still some games. I don't think you obviously God of War on an Xbox. I just don't think you will. There'll be some games where you just don't see them on another console. And you can do that. Like, it would make sense to bring Spider Man or Wolverine to the Xbox. It would make sense to bring Ratchet and Clank to the Switch. Think about how many Switch users there are and how well that game would probably sell to, honestly, families. So, or just people in general. But I think there's games they're willing to share, and I think there's games they're going to be like, hey, hands off, this is ours. But also, as Yield said, you can always do times like exclusivity where you get the game. If you want to play the game first, you're going to have to own this console, and then later on, we'll make our money on another console. I do think that and did we confirm? I saw we were throwing around the chat weeks ago, but Helldivers, that is confirmed to be coming to Microsoft and the Xbox.
Yeah.
So with a live service game like that, I am worried it's too late. Especially with how much content they put out. If I'm a player and I'm playing on the Xbox and I see that amount of content, I'm like, fuck this, I'm not doing this. It's way too much content to make up. It's, I mean, I realize people they're going to pay for the game and they might not immediately toss it away, but with releasing a live service game, with so much content already built up to an ecosystem a year and a half afterwards, that seems like it's a big ask. But, we'll see. But just like a story-based game that doesn't have, rounds and rounds of extra content added later, post-release, you could definitely do timed releases. So personally, as a PlayStation owner, I have no issues with this. If somebody wants to do this to help make them more healthy financially, I'm all good with it. Because in general, I trust the Sony brand of products. I recently had some Bluetooth earbuds from Sony that actually that lasted me for a little while. And, over time, the batteries don't last as long, so I had to replace them. But, Sony TVs, there's a lot of Sony stuff that I've had that's worked out really well. So I just kind of have in a lot of cases, a preference for the Sony brand. So it's not like I'm going to dump PlayStation if for some reason the, exclusivity on some games goes away. But Sony has watched Microsoft do it. They've seen what they've done. And Sony may not be one of the first ones to jump into the pond, but, if it works for Microsoft and Microsoft is no longer as, gung-ho gunning for the hardware space, Sony's probably going to soften and say, we can do this too, and we can make some extra money.
Okay. So just for the folks at home, Tricky had to step away. Unfortunately, he won't be able to come back for the rest of the show, but it's fine. We're about to close up anyways. My thought input is, Alex, you said it directly. Imagine how many people would buy Ratchet and Clank on the Switch, the Switch 2 in this case. I might think about picking the game up again to be able to play it through on my handheld and play it that way. But I do think you guys are right. It's only going to be certain games. Look, Microsoft has only allowed certain games to come over to the PlayStation area. And again, first party, I don't consider things like Call of Duty and some of those other Activision titles, not Activision, was that? Yes, Activision titles, because those were kind of already in the works, multi-platform. These are series that you've never seen on another platform other than just Sony. And I agree. God of War on an Xbox would be very awkward, especially since we don't know when we say GOW which one we're referring to now. And I think the fact that they are blatantly putting this job out there just further reinforces what Hiroki said a couple weeks ago, and that players are going to have to get used to seeing games cross-platform. And it's kind of been Microsoft's philosophy all along. The more access people have to games, the more gamers win. And I agree with that. And then you have a company like Nintendo. Yes, they're very unlikely to ever put Mario on another ecosystem. And
No.
That's
And
not
it-
mobile.
And unfortunately, all that they really have is Mario. Well, they got Mario, Donkey Kong, Zelda, and Metroid.
There's a little bit
you-
more than that.
You could throw
But-
Splatoon in there.
Yeah, but the big ones, yeah.
The big ones, that's all they got. But yeah, you're not going to see those go to other consoles, because if you do, then why buy a Nintendo?
But,
You know what?
but
I
then-
think would. Oh, sorry, Matt.
No, I was going to say, but then they've never needed their games on another console. They're solving
No.
their own shit.
Yes.
You know what I
Alex?
think would be the best thing for Nintendo to do is we don't know the status of Super Smash Brothers as a franchise going forward. Because obviously Project Sora, they've said that they don't want to do it anymore, but they've also said that, hey, we can't imagine us not being a part of this. So no one really knows what's going to be going on with one of Nintendo's best-selling franchises to date. But if Nintendo could go to, say, Sony or Microsoft to say, hey, we'll release Super Smash Brothers on your console, but the one thing is, you gotta let us use some of your characters in it. So give us your Ratchets and your Sly and your Master Chief and all this, and we'll bring it to your consoles. I think that would be a good trade-off.
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Yeah, well, I figured you wouldn't, because you're not a naysayer, you're not a poopy pants, you're not a party pooper.
Imagine getting John Helldiver in Smash Brothers.
Well, I think they'd go for Doom Guy or the Doom Slayer before they went for, Joe Bloke from Helldivers. But
All right. Well, surely we've got a lot to come over the next couple months, seeing, if this position gets filled, what's Sony's actual stance. I think it'll be a while before we actually see any real movement on this. This is all just happening very recently, and there's going to be a lot to come down the line. So with that said, stay tuned for further developments on that story, and I'm sure it'll come up as a topic again in the future. Just, hey, you heard it here first, discussed on the Trophy Wars podcast. So we are going to start closing up the show. Tricky, again, unfortunately won't be able to join in at the last moment here, but definitely shout out to Tricky for his participation. Shout out to the Goddess and Sweet Mama D on his behalf, and everything else. Yield, I'll give you next to shout out.
Shout out to Tricky, Matt, and Alex for recording this evening. Shout out to, I won't go through the names, but shout out to the PSN group or PSN Profiles group, who have been boosting Star Wars Battlefront with myself and Nitro. Like I said last week, this has been a really chill, really cooperative group for the most part, like 98% of them. So that's been incredibly awesome. Shout out to everybody who hung out with us in chat this evening. Shout out to those who gave us some questions this week. Can't remember the guy's name. I think it was Baffo Mick. So this is for the three of you, because it relates to you guys. So I was, after we done recording last week, I was, I jumped back on. We were doing some more boosting, and one of the guys was like, "Oh, what podcast do you do?" So I told him. He keyed it up, started listening, and he's like, "Man, I really like the music, and I really like the tone of your podcast." So that is for the three of you, because I know you guys work very hard on the editing. So I thought I would let you guys know that someone listened in the group and was very pleased with what he heard.
Excellent. Welcome to the listening.
And that'll do me this week. Oh, and a shout out to my niece who had a birthday yesterday.
All right. That will do you. How about you, Alex? How will you do?
I give a shout out to all of our listeners, the community, the fuel to the fire of this Trophy Wars. thanks to Saber and to Curtis for the questions this week. And if I'm forgetting anybody else, please forgive me. But we appreciate you all for contributing, for listening, for spreading the word of Trophy Whores. You guys are awesome. The fuel to our fire. Give a shout out to my co-host this week, Matt and Yield, and especially Tricky, who had surgery on Friday and still showed up. I mean, we told him to rest, but mofo don't listen. So shout out to Tricky, who showed up this week and played through the pain. And last but not least, give a shout out to my loving, awesome girlfriend, Ashley. I love you, hun. And that is going to do me for this week. 680, y'all. 680.
Right, that do you. And for me to do, I give a shout out to you guys for recording, especially Tricky, putting up through the pain. Appreciate you being here. Shout out to Saber and Jurassic, and I think I saw MZ in the chat, as well as, for those in the question, the only one you missed, Alex, was V. Thank you for her question, but again, it was directed at me, so I don't blame you for
I'm sorry, V. We also appreciate V's contributions as well.
Shout out to the Channel 3 community. Make sure to check out channel3.gg for some gamified social media. It's a fun little community. Hopefully be a fun big community at some point. And shout out to my wife V for everything that she does. With that said, happy hunting, folks. Will, thank you for your art. Alex, get him his title.
Oh, yeah, sure thing.
All right. Happy hunting, folks.
See ya.
Later.
The theme song is Venus by the band Eden off their album Zenith. Permission granted by the band and 12 Stone Records. You can find them on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/EdenPhilippines.
All right, 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
One.
All right, I know Alex is going to be a little jacked up. Yield, that was 140.34.
Yeah, I was a little late getting start on 15.